Imagine being unable to pay your rent. Your bank account is nearly empty. You have no investors, no customers, and no business. Most people would see a dead end. But for three young entrepreneurs, that moment became the beginning of one of the most successful startups in history. Today, Airbnb is worth tens of billions of dollars and has changed the way millions of people travel around the world. But its story didn't begin with cutting-edge technology or massive investment. It began with a simple problem and 3 air mattresses. The year was 2007. In San Francisco, 2 designers, Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia, were struggling financially. Rent was due, money was running out, and they were looking for any way to make ends meet. At the same time, a major design conference was coming to the city. Hotels were completely booked, and thousands of visitors were searching desperately for a place to stay. That's when Joe came up with an unusual idea. What if they rented out part of their apartment to strangers? It sounded ridiculous, but they decided to try. They bought a few air mattresses, built a simple website, and offered visitors a place to sleep along with breakfast. They called it Air Bed and Breakfast. To their surprise, 3 guests booked. Visitors earned around $1,000. It wasn't much, but it proved something important. People were willing to stay in a stranger's home. For most people, that would have been the end of the experiment. But Brian and Joe believed they had discovered something much bigger. Soon they partnered with a talented engineer named Nathan Blecharczyk. Together they began building a real platform. Their vision was simple: allow ordinary people to rent out extra space to travelers from anywhere in the world. Today that idea seems completely normal. Back then it sounded crazy. Why would anyone trust a stranger enough to sleep in their home? Would it be safe? Would anyone actually use it? Investors certainly didn't think so. The founders began pitching their idea, hoping to raise money. The answer was no. Again and again and again, investor after investor rejected them. Many believed nobody would ever trust strangers enough to make the concept work. As the rejections piled up, Airbnb was running out of money. The company was on the edge of collapse. Then, during the 2008 U.S. presidential election, the founders came up with another unconventional idea. If they couldn't raise money, they'd create it. They designed custom cereal boxes called Obama O's and Captain McCain's. It seemed like a joke, but it worked. They sold thousands of dollars worth of cereal and used the profits to keep the company alive. Without those cereal boxes, Airbnb might not exist today. For a while, survival was the only goal. Then everything changed. The founders were accepted into Y Combinator, one of the world's most respected startup accelerators. There they met Paul Graham. Unlike most investors, he saw potential where others saw failure. But his advice was simple: stop guessing, talk to customers, understand their problems. So the founders did exactly that. They traveled to New York and met hosts face to face. They listened, they learned, and they discovered something unexpected. Many apartment listings had poor photos. So the founders personally visited homes and took professional pictures themselves. Almost immediately, bookings increased. Trust began to grow. More hosts joined the platform. More travelers started booking. And for the first time, Airbnb had real momentum. What happened next changed the travel industry forever. Over the following decade, Airbnb expanded across the globe. Millions of hosts listed properties. Millions of travelers booked unique stays, from small apartments and beach houses to luxury villas, tree houses, and even castles. Airbnb offered something traditional hotels couldn't provide: the chance to experience a destination like a local. The platform grew from a struggling startup into one of Silicon Valley's greatest success stories. Then, in 2020, Airbnb went public. A company that once struggled to pay rent was suddenly valued at tens of billions of dollars, all because 3 founders were willing to try an idea that most people thought was ridiculous. These stories so powerful. Great companies don't always begin with revolutionary technology. Sometimes they begin with a simple problem: an overdue rent payment, a small apartment, a few air mattresses on the floor, and the courage to pursue an idea when nobody else believes in it. Because the next billion-dollar company might not look impressive at first. In fact, it might look completely crazy, and that's exactly why everyone else misses it.